You're redefining a fabric in society that has kept the human race and got it to where it is today.
But do you see the state of our world today? It's not perfect, and it's been led by men like throughout all of history, and look where it's gone.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. Masculinity is disappearing in America.
I think that masculinity is disappearing. I think that it's a concerted effort to emasculate men. I think that some people feel threatened by masculinity and the typical way that men carry themselves, leading families and different things like that. So I think that there's an effort to mitigate strong men in America.
There's a few different ways to think about masculinity, but just looking at kind of the definition of the term 50 years ago, you had.
Before we let him talk, man, I do want to say this, and I noticed about this. It's really interesting. I think that a lot of black people in general just usually really come from this conspiratorial type of conclusion about a lot of different things. And I'm not saying that he's wrong about that. I absolutely agree as well. But it's like, I hate how at least on YouTube and like media just portrays it like this is just the only type of like resource of, this is the only perspective that people are kind of taking it from in the black community. It's just like a conspiratorial thing, you know. But I digress.
You know, people like John Wayne, you had Martin Luther King, you had Sean Connery. You know, you think of like masculine features as in beards, hairy chest, big muscles, think stoic, being brave, being rugged, being a provider. Today you have, you know, people like Harry Styles and Timothy Chalamet. You have people that are completely contrary to what we were looking at back then, and those values of those masculine characteristics are completely devalued.
I do believe that masculinity is going downhill, especially if you look at like the testosterone levels. Now the testosterone levels for guys is going down compared to generations before us. So yeah, I agree. Hi, I'm Gilbert. I'm 24 years old and I'm a conservative man. With my beliefs and having a trans man as my friend, we don't really talk about politics. Someone being trans doesn't make me like them any less of a person. As far as pronouns, when referring to my friend, I don't really use the pronouns that my friend would want. I just say my friend, or I say their name, just because I feel like I'm giving into the narrative that men can be women and women can be men if I use the pronouns that they want.
I absolutely agree with that. I do the same thing, man. I'm not going to address you by no she, none of that stuff, man. It's just going to be your name, or it's going to be, you know, yeah, it's just going to be your name. It's really what it's going to be.
I do see that masculinity is under attack completely, but my definition of masculinity, like you said, has a lot to do with the traits that are associated with it. As a gay man, I mean, of all of us, you know, I mean, I'm not the most masculine man, but I do think that the good aspects of masculinity are definitely under attack, but I don't think that it's disappearing, it's just being channeled in different ways.
It depends on how you look at it, because a lot of the traits can also be embodied in women and femininity. So when we look at masculinity, I think that we have to also look at what is the actual definition of femininity and masculinity. And if we're defining masculinity by being stoic or muscles or body parts, then is it really masculinity?
A lot of times when you guys spoke about masculinity, you associate it with men being manly, but I think more women are embracing their masculinity. Masculinity is still there. I mean, just other genders are using it. Being courageous, being powerful, more women are standing in their power, which is again associated with masculine, but it's not specific to just men. Women are no longer submissive, they're dominant. Women don't need men, and I think that most of America is realizing that anyone can be powerful on their own.
I believe that the masculine traits are inherently in men, and men have to take a position. You made a really good point by saying women are now becoming more masculine. They feel as if they don't need men, which I think is the problem here. I think that the way we've been designed by God, in my opinion, is that men are to lead, men are to be strong, men are to be brave. Men have to take their rightful position. The way our country has been structured to this point have been because of strong men who have taken a stand, who have fought wars. Now I feel like it's getting so lopsided that our families are degrading. People don't know where they're at in this country.
Now in 2000.
Here's the deal. This is what I think, that when it comes to this masculinity like debate, I think when we're talking about this, when people come to sit down and talk about it, they confuse the definition of a man with masculinity. They equate the same thing. And what I think people, like, especially what that one guy said with the white earrings, he's like, masculinity is a force that is existent in women as well. It's a force. It's not the definition of a man. But a lot of people that try to debate this thing is like they're saying that masculinity is manly and it's all men. It's this, that, and the third. But what they're really trying to do is they're talking about two different things, honestly. Like, people thinking that men and masculinity, like masculinity equals man, and that's not true. And I think that's what people have issues with. Masculinity and the definition and the roles of a man, I believe that's what people are talking about, and those are absolutely being, like, they're devolving, right? The role, the idea, the necessity of a man, those things are degrading. But masculinity, it's an interesting thing because it is showing up a lot more in women, right? And the masculinity in men, where it should get to higher levels because it's more testosterone in this body, there's a hormonal environment that urges higher expressions of masculinity, should be not as bottlenecks in society with men as it is. It's okay for women to explore the masculinity. It's okay to stand in your fucking power and shit like that. Like, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody, like, whatever. Do you? But I think the role and the necessity of a man is what I believe a lot of men and even some women think is under attack. Masculinity isn't necessarily under attack per se, as much as the definition, the roles and the position of a man, the value of a man, that is being attacked. That is what I think is being attacked, and not necessarily masculinity. You know what I'm saying?
2022, masculinity is being redefined. And I think what happens is people get upset when things start to change. No, I think that nobody ever wants to take that away from men. I think that what we want to do in the world now is start to understand what is masculinity. And it's always been really associated with this very machismo space. And now there's different kinds of men in the world. There's not just biological men. There's also trans men or people who want to be masculine. So I think what's happening now is people are pushing against change.
I think that science and medicine is absolutely scary, man. It is absolutely fantastic. Like, holy crap. Like, how long ago did they have these hormonal things to help people transition into the next gender? He's got to be in his 50s or 60s. You know what I'm saying? How long ago did they transition? Damn, full beard. Looks like even the black dude that was a trans man too. I was surprised at that. I'm like, what? I thought this was a new phenomenon for the most part, but fuck, it's been around for a minute, I guess.
Because change is scary, and people don't understand. And so I think men, biological men, feel under attack, when I think that's not what's happening here.
The point that you made is 100% correct. There are different phases, and people are experiencing in different ways. The feminist movement is, I think they are attacking masculinity within men. I don't want a man to open the door for me. I don't need a man in my life. I can do all of these different things. What they're doing is attacking men, and that's what's causing the problem.
What part of the
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's focus on that real quick. He says he thinks that femininity in women today are attacking masculinity and how it's manifested in men. He didn't say it with those words, but that's what he should have said. The way masculinity manifests in men, once again, we have a hormonal environment that supports the production and maximum production of testosterone, which also is what we define as masculine qualities and masculine actions. That gets expressed so much more in a hormonal body that promotes the maximum production of testosterone. Testosterone absolutely aids in what's it called? Combativeness, disagreeableness, machismo is what they want to call it. And so society does kind of like denigrate and condescend how masculine actions are expressed in men today. So I agree with that. I do agree with that.